Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Well, we have over 1,834 cases at our FightTheFines.com Civil Liberties Project. Most of them are what I call severely normal Canadians, just from every walk of life and every background, just people who were hit hard by outrageous and likely illegal lockdown tickets. However, amongst those 1,834 cases, there are some special ones that stand out, including a few churches, a few businesses, and a few cases that the politicians really want to turn into examples. And Calgary, and Alberta more broadly, seems to be ground zero for the maximalist approach to lockdown prosecutions. And today, three of those most prominent cases issued rulings. A court issued a ruling. Chris Scott, the proprietor of the Whistle Stop Diner in Mirror, Alberta. Artur Pawlowski and his brother Dawid, pastors at the Street Church, and Tim Stevens, another Calgary pastor. All of them had their rulings today, and all of them were convicted. Joining us now via Skype is our friend Sheila Gunn Reid, who was watching three of those matters unfold this morning and was live tweeting the proceedings. Sheila, great to see you again.
Hi, Ezra. Thanks for having me on the show. I just want to clarify one quick thing because there are a lot of moving parts today. Tim Stevens, he didn't get a decision today, but his next court appearance is kicked down the road until mid-July. So that's when we'll hear next from him. So while the politicians are celebrating, as they say, the greatest outdoor show on earth, the Calgary Stampede, while they're trying on their new outfits to celebrate the reopening of this province, Tim Stevens is being told that he'll sit in jail for at least another 2 more weeks before he even goes before a judge one more time.
So, okay, thank you for the correction. So Chris Scott, the businessman, and the two Pawlowski brothers, they were convicted or found in contempt of court today. They will be sentenced later. Tim Stevens, you've corrected me, thank you for that, did not have a ruling today, but he will rot in jail until his trial is heard at a later date. So he remains in prison. You know how long he's been in prison for? It's got to be a week now, right?
Yeah, I think we're approaching maybe even 2 weeks that he's been sitting in jail. And today, the other hearings were 2 separate contempt hearings for the Pawlowski brothers because they were held in contempt of an April 23rd court order that was obtained in secret, and then a May 6th court order that didn't name either one of them in it, but was also obtained in secret, and then the Chris Scott hearing as well at the very same time.
Yeah, and you said a few things there that may sound odd to people. Obtained in secret. I mean, we have been crowdfunding the lawyer for Artur Pawlowski. He was actually our very first client in Fight the Fines. We've been representing him or funding Sarah Miller to represent him since April of 2020. So that's now 14 months. And for the Alberta government, they know this. They fought with Sarah Miller. She's cleaned their clock time and again. So they sneaked into court without notice to Arthur, without notice to Sarah Miller. They didn't tell the judge that they knew Arthur was lawyered up. And they made a secret application and got an order. And they didn't invite the other side to be part of a battle. That's how courts are. Audi alterum partem is the legal maxim. That means hear the other party. And that didn't happen. So it was a secret application for a contempt order. And on one of them, it didn't even name the people. It was just John Does and Jane Does. They are doing very rotten law in Alberta, and they're doing it with pride. The number of prosecutors and bureaucrats the government of Alberta is throwing these pastors is shocking. It's like the Nuremberg trials, but if the bad guys had won. The amount of prosecutorial and police power they're putting on these pastors is crazy.
Well, and just the complete idea that there's no such thing as procedure anymore. So not only with that April 23rd order that was obtained in secret against Pastor Art, that was served to him the morning of April 24th when they tried to enter his church, because that order gives Alberta Health Services and the police free rein to enter Pastor Art's church, whether services are going on or not, which is actually in breach of the Canadian Criminal Code, Section 176, that you cannot interrupt a church service. But they handed it to him and gave him 2.5 minutes to be served with it, to read it, to understand, and then come into compliance. Art's first language is not English. He speaks Polish first. And in that moment when they're serving him, because Art is really good at recording every interaction he has with officials, he can be heard saying, "Call my lawyer, call my lawyer." And they never did. They never gave Art an opportunity to understand the order and come into compliance. They gave him 2.5 minutes. And that was one of Sarah Miller's arguments, was that this is just not enough time for anybody, let alone someone who's got English as a second language, to understand what you're giving them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The fact that Pastor Tim Stevens is in jail right now, the fact that Artur Pawlowski was in jail for days, and before him, and Chris Scott was in jail, and of course in Edmonton, Pastor James Coates was in jail for 35 days. These are not crimes. They're not charged with any crimes.
No.
And these health orders that they're charged with, they don't carry with them a custodial sentence. So what's happening here is Alberta Health is trying to find some way to jail them that's not contemplated in the law. And so they got these sweeping contempt orders against anyone, and then tried to tag people they don't like, and literally give them like 2 minutes, or you didn't comply within 2 minutes reading a legal document as I storm your church with a bunch of armed cops, off to jail for you. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.